there, and welcome back to the Terra Nova Yoga Philosophy free classes, where we're going to be talking about all of the different philosophy and ideology of traditional Indian yogic beliefs, and trying to bring awareness to the deeper aspects of yoga so that we can deepen our practice. So today we're talking about the kriyas, or nadis. Kriyas comes later. However, we can use our kriyas to help cleanse and enliven our nadis. So the nadis are essentially, it is literally translated as tubes throughout the body, or channels. And for Western perspective, we could really think about them as the nervous system, or the blood transportation, our veins, our electricity moving circuits through our bodies that move the information from our brain. We can think of them as essentially all of the tissue that is string-like, right? And in many ways that they cover the body. And so in the Vedas, they said that there were 72,000. And that is a really big number when you think about, okay, so within the body, there are 72,000 channels. Now, as big as that number already is, and you can only imagine trying to understand them, now if you're a doctor, you actually understand that there very much are that many channels of movement throughout the body from our nervous system, where that all touches every part of us. But then in the Shiva Shamna, in the Upanishads, there is 350,000. So 350,000. So that's an even higher amount. And at this level, we're looking at such a large amount that we really get lost in the translation. There's a lot of talk about which ones are legitimate, which ones are real. There's a lot of back and forth about this. If we were to take yoga to a modern perspective, we would actually be able to come up with an exact number of these energetic channels from a more literal sense, as we would transform them into the nervous system and the veins, as well as the pathways in our brain, the fluid moving, so our lymphatic system would be involved, all of these different information tubes and channels, so like nose and our sinuses. There's a lot. We would also include the endocrine system in this, as technically the chakras are included in the nadi system. So the chakras, most likely from a modern medical perspective, are correlating to the endocrine system. So thymus and our pituitary gland and our stomach, and we'll go into that more in the chakras video. But for now, we're going to talk about our nadis. So with the nadis, they really, at the beginning level, at the starter level, they really focus on the two. There are three, but there are two. They focus on the central line being a neutral space. So we're going to talk about we're going to get a little bit more into the energies of each one of these, which is, so the central one being neutral, being that of usefulness. It runs along our spine, and it is our Shashamna. And our Shashamna is basically, it is a central meeting point of the two halves. And the two halves really would closely relate to the two halves of our brain. So that's the Ida and the Pingala. And our Ida is our feminine left side, so Ida. And our Ida is It's cold. It pertains to moon qualities, silver. It moves towards like darkness and coldness and moist. It moves towards this space of basically everything opposite from its brother. And the Pingala is bright and tawny. It is sunshine, it is the sun, it is their masculine qualities, and it is the right side. Now, when we think about that from the perspective of the brains, we kind of have a similar thing. So our right side, or our masculine brain, or our Pingala, is all about math. It's all about logic. It's all about, large picture. It's dealing with exacts. Whereas our Ida, which is our feminine brain, is dealing with creativity, is dealing with emotion, is dealing with, more abstract thoughts and details. This is even held forward into, what we know in medical science today. So you can see that these ancient cultures were onto something very real when they were talking and philosophizing about, these two sides of the brain. And they were using meditation very much to discern these things from reality. And practicing in charging different halves of the brain using specific pranayamas. So one of the things that we can do to charge either or is we can use our nostrils. So this is something that they'll use to balance themselves if they're feeling out of balance. So and this is usually how we do that. So forefinger here and thumb here, right? And what you can do when you want to breathe in and charge your Ida is you can open your left nostril and we breathe through and activate this side, this hemisphere, this side of us. And this really, along with just here, it also sends that prana into our entire body. So through all of those systems into that side, and it charges us. So we need to feel more creative for a certain reason. If we're feeling stuck in our lives, if we're feeling like we need to be more emotionally attuned and available, this is a really great way to charge that side of us. And likewise, pressing down with our index and this is a great way to charge our right side, our Pingala. And this helps us to become more focused, to focus on more masculine ideas, details, exact figures, math, that sort of thing. So this is the way that we can charge this side of our body. And these channels, they really focus on the movement of prana. They really work with prana. So making sure that we are charging them with clean energy is really important, because it basically just helps the whole system move good. It was like, if you put dirty energy through your system, the entire system is going to fail. So, keeping in mind all of these tiny little channels and tiny tubes are moving this prana, we prefer to take in cleaner prana to make sure that they are well taken care of. So the other thing that we can do with this pranic breath is we can focus on breathing for longer, switching between the two. So the breath that is really typical with them is a 4-2-4. And if you get really comfortable with that, you can bring it up to an 8-4-8. And you can go further and higher, but especially when you're starting, this can actually cause issues in your brain. A big part of that is because the brain isn't used to getting so much oxygen, or the body is not used to getting so much prana, especially consciously. When we're consciously taking in prana, we do take in more prana. That is something that we should be aware of when we're breathing, pranayama. So the 4-2-4 breath would go something like this. So what we're doing here is we are breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, holding 1, 2, and breathing out with the other side 1, 2, 3, 4, holding at the bottom for 2 seconds, and then breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, holding in the middle for 2, and then breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, holding at the bottom for 2, 1, 2, and breathing back in 1, 2, 3, 4. And we usually hold this anywhere from, when you're beginning again, 5 minutes, awesome. 10 minutes, fantastic. 15 minutes, great. 20 minutes, all right. Now, when we start getting past this, especially within the first couple of times that you do this, you don't want to exhaust yourself. You don't want to do too much. You won't make it fun. You won't be able to come back to it as well. So make it short, make it sweet, and work towards building that comfort up so that when you are doing it every single day, this is a tapas. This is a really, really wonderful tapas. And we'll go through what tapas is later. But basically a tapas is an offering to yourself, to your higher self, and to your God state. And what we do this, when we do this, we are also offering to everybody else and the wellness of everybody else. And this is something that's really, really important for when we're doing any practice within yoga, is understanding that this is for the good of every being, everywhere. And we really, really focus on making that the cornerstone of our practice. And you say, oh, well, how does that make sense? And in some of our earlier videos, we kind of go through why a yogic practice can connect us to our entire cosmic being, and how cleansing the body is really cleansing the larger body. So again, this is a really great practice for the 2 halves. And of course, so one of the other words that you have for these are meridians in Chinese medicine. So if you want to learn more about them, there are sources that will go through all of the 7,200,000 or the 3,500,000. So 72,000 or 350,000. And if you go through them all and you learn them all, you're going to have an easier time accessing them and knowing what they need, because different ones have different paths through the body, and understanding when you have an injury in one place, how that can be affecting an injury through another place, and how healing one place in your body can also heal another place through these channels. So I think that just about wraps up our talk on the Nadis. I would love to hear about what you thought about the talk in the comments, and please remember to subscribe so that we can talk about more of the yogic philosophy and the different things that you might not have known about that are very interesting and worth knowing for your everyday life and your well-being overall. Thank you, and see you again later. Namaste.